Every morning I wake up, get some coffee, breakfast going, get my kids ready, go check out the news, check a pulse on the housing market, and I start crying in the fetal position for hours because first-time homebuyers are just getting completely demolished in this market. Get back up and get going with my day. I'm actually someone who helps first-time homebuyers and sellers in a crazy market, and I'm in the trenches helping them buy and sell. So I feel like now's the time to make this video. I want to formally say, if you're an average first-time homebuyer right now, you shouldn't be buying a home. There are some concerning things that I'm noticing that are going to probably happen in the next few months that I believe you should be watching out for. Right now, real estate agents are telling you everything's super great because they feel super busy. And normally at the end of the year, things get kind of slow. But because things are a lot more productive and busier now, realtors think, well, we're fine, we're impervious, everything is good. So here's what's happening. This is the numbers of my market here in the Phoenix, Arizona area according to my MLS. Now keep in mind, yes, this is just my area. Your area might be different, so take this with a grain of salt. Observe what happens at the end of a year, okay? There is 8,000 new listings and 6,000 new listings, but there's near 20,000 active listings and about 6,000 sold listings. So basically about 3 months of inventory left on the market. So what does this mean? It means that if there were to be no more new listings at the end of that month, it would take 3.05, 3.08 months for all the houses to sell if the amount of sell houses continue at the rate they have been. But you notice here the sold listings drop because this is an effect of December, because the ones that are closing in December are because they were under contract in December, right? And so February, new listings aren't that much as well, but you just do notice the active listings stay higher, sold listings stay about the same. So basically January and February of every year is like a build-up month, right? They're going to start building up because every year without fail, there's always a huge explosion between March and May. Sometimes even it goes into June. This is the golden time for real estate agents. This is where we get the most amount of our business if you're doing your things right. As you notice, there's a bunch of new listings. Active inventory stays high, but this drops. If you notice, it's been around 333. It drops to 2 because the amount of sold listings are increasing at a rapid rate. After June, July, August, things started to slow down. They will not slow down. They're busier than they were in the beginning of the year and the end of the year, but not as busy as the previous quarter. And then, of course, there's always a giant boost right before the Thanksgiving, like October, September. And, of course, our end of the year new listings drop significantly. But look at the amount of sold listings, right? It's not that much of a difference. It's only 8,000, 7,000. But the reason why these are higher is because of the new listings that hit the market in October. And, of course, January 2020, it drops sort of like it did here. So if you think about it, this is what happens, right? It drops and it slowly starts increasing January, February. And then the quarter 1 to 2, it just explodes, and then it kind of goes down and it stays kind of average, and then it kind of explodes a little bit at the end and then drops. And it's been pretty consistent that way. Well, here is what's happening this year. January and February were similar trends where it started kind of doing build-up months, right? New listings about 9,000 to 11,000, which are about the same here, a little different. Amount of sold listings staying pretty consistent as last year. But then look what happens. March started off as the big month as it was supposed to, but as you know, the quarantine happened and everything that started, then it stayed low for the next 3 or 4 months. The amount of sold listings did not really change from 7 to 8,000. And as a matter of fact, in June and July, they increased to 10,000, a number that we shouldn't have seen. Well, actually, we did see in October, but there's another huge surge of things that happened in the middle of the year. So this is why, if you're a first-time home buyer, you've been struggling, because there's this all-new, huge artificial demand, in my opinion, of new houses because the interest rates are low and because you're being told to buy right now, frankly. So there's this huge increase. So, sorry, wrong tab, my bad. As somebody who's been in the trenches, this is what's happened this last 3 or 4 months. This number was actually close to 9,000 of maybe a month or 2 months ago. It's actually been pretty consistently high, and it's made me also believe, things are going to get better soon. But now that it's dropped so low, it's concerning, and especially it's way more concerning because I saw this number. If you look at the amount of under contract listings and pending listings right now in the market, check this out. 13,000. There are 13,000 houses under contract. This means if the majority of these close, our sold number is going to be over 10,000 when our active number is close to 6,000 or 7,000. If you're a realtor, you're probably shouting with joy because this means that demand is staying very, very competitive. And if you're a first-time home buyer, you're still getting screwed. But if you're a seller, you're living the life right now. Sellers are loving life. They can put a house on the market and they make much more money than they're supposed to. And they go either take the money to go rent somewhere or they buy something, but they get a good rate and good position because they put 20% down because of the money they made or something, right? So this is great and all. But here's what's happening. If we start observing things and kind of noticing what's going on, the end of the year always produces less listings, right? So we have all these closings happening because we had this huge October/November/September of just explosion of new business. But towards the end of the year, if we follow the same pattern, we're going to start seeing a lot less listings. What I want you to do is I want you to go and Google and delete whatever you were Googling. I want you to go and type your state average income 2019. Okay? So in Arizona, it's 62,000. What I want you to do is type this number, divide that by 12, and this is the monthly gross income of somebody who makes the average income. In theory, this person, if they had no debt, could qualify up to 50% of this, but let's say we're using budget purposes and we're using about 35%, so which is still higher, but let's say we're just going to use that. 35% of that is $1,800, right? So this person, if they had no debt, would be able to qualify for $1,800. However, most people have some debt, so let's just say there's about $400 of debt, because that's what I usually see. $300 to $400 is the car payment usually. So that means that about $1,400 is what the average person with the average income in my state can qualify for a house. $1,400 is going to be probably close to $260, $270 if there's no debt, no HOA. However, Arizona has a lot of houses with HOA, higher taxes, are starting to get higher at least. So that's probably going to be closer to the probably low 200s to mid 200s to buy a house, which has been very doable for the past year or two. Well, if I do a quick search, right, and I'm a buyer who's looking to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, single family, maybe a 2-car garage, super minimal ask, right? Nothing crazy. And I look under 250. It's 119 houses, right? And as a matter of fact, it's 119 because it's including on the East Valley right here. So if we're just focusing on the Metro Phoenix area here, not the outskirts cities, there's only 31 options. And to make things even crazier, if I focus on just houses that qualify for FHA, which is what an average first-time home buyer uses most of the time, it's only 19. Because houses are artificially increasing in value at a rapid rate, they're starting to exceed the average income, which we can assume that people who make around the average income or even below it, most of the people probably make below it, are your average first-time home buyers. So to wrap all this up in a pretty bow, your average first-time home buyers are losing their opportunity to become homeowners. You know how in California, my Californians, you guys know this already, that if you want to buy a house there, if you're a one-person working household with decent income, you can't buy a house. If you're a 2-person working family with both of them very solid incomes, guess what? You still buying a house. Maybe you're barely buying a house, but you're not buying a house where you want to buy. You have to be in a very, very, very good position, very decent jobs, very top-notch, 20% down, all this good stuff to even consider getting a decent house down there. In most states, we didn't feel that. For the last 5-6 years, I mean, if you made a minimum wage or close to minimum wage and you had decent debts, you would be able to qualify a decent house here. So average first-time home buyers are no longer able to buy. And if you are fortunate enough to have made good decisions and you're buying, let's say, 300 to 350, there's 358 houses. Not bad, right? Well, here's the thing. If anyone's looking at the beginning starting range, you're getting screwed because here, check this out. You want to see how competitive it is? There's 358 houses, but there's 1,700 pending listings, 1,669. Say, hey. If I look at the closed listings in the past 30 days, there are 1,400. So if you're fortunate enough to have made the better decisions to be able to qualify in the starting range, which is starting to become higher and higher and higher, you're fighting to the death. Now, if I show you guys how many of these guys are getting closing costs, average closing cost in the state is about $6,000. So if we find out which one actually gave $6,000 out of the 1,412 listings, 26 of them only did, right? In a market where it was pretty common to get your entire closing costs paid, now it's not even possible. All right, Javier, stop throwing a bunch of data at me. What does this all mean? Well, here, check this out. Things feel good right now because there's a lot of new listings. There's a lot of activity happening. Buyers are still struggling, and we're equating that struggle to mean that demand is really high, so things should be okay. But as we start increasing and pushing those values up more and keep pushing the first-time home buyer out of the equation, we're going to start seeing a drop. And if you don't believe me, well, according to HousingWire.com, mortgage applications dropped 5% despite low rates. According to CNBC, mortgage demand from home buyers drops to the lowest level in 6 months. We've pushed first-time home buyers out of the equation. So there's going to be less applications and less people buying. This demand, this crazy demand we have is going to start slowing down, which we will not feel because historically, end of the year is more chill. But that March, April, May period where people put their house on the market, the demand will not be there as they thought. So now let's combine this with the whole mortgage forbearance thing happening, right? There's a lot of people that took forbearance. And if you ask any realtor or lender, as a matter of fact, go ask them. Don't even mention this video. Go ask your local realtor, hey, how's this whole forbearance thing, going to affect us? They're going to say,
they're okay. If they have when it comes time to pay, they don't have enough to pay, they're just going to sell their house because the equity's there. Every seller has equity right now because the market's crazy.
They're right. Sellers have a huge advantage right now. They're the daddies right now, okay? Seller, we'll call you daddy if you're selling your house. Here's what's going to happen, or at least my prediction. Home buyers are getting pushed out of the market. That's going to start spreading around because remember I told you in an earlier video, there's always a delayed effect, right, of whatever brand news or new loan program, etc. These last 3 months have been brutal for first-time home buyers, and that's not going to start spreading. And guess what? A lot of people are going to be discouraged of buying, or they're going to try to buy, and they're going to be discouraged and not be able to buy. So beginning of the year happens, it's time to pay those forbearance payments, or the sellers are like, hey, I want to sell my house. They're going to put their house on the market, but the demand has dropped. Sure, there's going to be some buyers out there that are still going to be buying houses that I'm sure are going to meet that demand, and they're going to pick up the decent house with a decent interest rate. When that March, April period hits where everybody puts their house on the market, I believe that's when the shift is going to happen. So right now, sellers are the daddies, buyers, we're not. As soon as March, April hits, slowly demand drops. There's a huge new flow of new listings in March. Now the buyers are their daddy. At the same time, the forbearance payments are going to be due for a lot of people that didn't extend. And they've been relying on the fact that they can just list their market and sell it really high value and get their money back. But guess what? Demand's going to be lower. And now when they put their house on the market to pay back their forbearance, it's not going to sell as quick. And you start combining that with more people getting in there. And we're going to start creating an effect of a lot more listings hitting the market than buyers. Quarter two is when you're going to start feeling it. All the listings are going to be hitting the market as they usually do, but it's going to take about 2 to 3 months for sellers to react to this because there's a delayed reaction. So quarter three is when you're going to start seeing houses stay on the market longer than they need to, and prices will start dropping down. So if you're in an area that's supported by a lot of out-of-state buyers moving in there, you'll be okay. I think you're going to be propped up by all those people. But if you're in an area that doesn't depend on this and you've been rising, you've been seeing these price increases, then I would be prepared for the worst here. Yeah, there's a storm coming. And here's the thing. If you're a first-time home buyer who maybe has barely enough savings for a down payment and you've been depending on the closing costs or you're depending on some people to help you, wait. Just wait. It is not your time to buy right now. Right now, the people that should be buying are people that have been preparing already for the past months or if not year to buy now. And they have to buy now because they can't rent. They're tired of living with their parents or they just tired of living in an apartment and they're buying and they're going to be there for a long time, right? It's their turn. If you're not in this position, then stop, okay? Work on your credit. Build your savings more, suck it up, go maybe extend the lease on your apartment for 6 months to a year. If you're blowing all your savings for your house, it's not going to leave you in a good financial position. I don't know what's going to happen on the economy when these foreclosures or forbearances or amount of listings start going up higher. I don't know what's going to happen. So you have to make sure to play things safe here. And let's face it, most average first-time home buyers are, maybe they have just enough for this down payment, and maybe just enough for the closing costs, and that's it. They're buying the house and leaving with nothing, and they hope they can recoup that money with savings. But this should not be you, okay? People that are buying right now have savings for down payment and closing costs. They have savings for emergency. Maybe they have even another investment or savings that they can use in case of emergency, right? There's multiple savings. They're comfortable. They have this money set aside for the house, but they still have other things for emergencies. So what do you guys think is going to happen? Are you guys concerned? Are you guys nervous? Did this video help you in any way? Let me know below what your thoughts are. I'm interested in having a conversation with all you guys. Thank you so much. You have a good one.